This podcast is dedicated to the celebration and preservation of the working Australian Shepherd. Your Aussie is descended from a proud and amazing lineage of hard-working ranch dogs, identified and cultivated primarily in the Wild West. Contrary to the breed name, the Australian Shepherd is actually an American breed success story. Only in America can a blue-eyed, scruffy dog rise from the dust of the American ranch to become one of the most popular breeds in the world today. The Aussies' beauty, brains, and incredible work ethic and almost empathic connection with their human charges make them unforgettable and pivotal members of the family. My goal is to help you understand this amazing breed, learn more about their heritage and their physical and mental needs so that together we can preserve the working Aussie by encouraging better breeding and better vetting of future Aussie owners, ultimately keeping Aussies with their families and out of shelters. Welcome to the Instinctive Australian Shepherd. Welcome, Australian Shepherd Nation. Jacque Tinker here with my special guest, Joe Sheeran. And Joe, I would like to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you, Jacque. It's good to be here.
Good. So I invited Joe to talk dogs and talk Aussies with me today. Joe has had Aussies for quite some time, and I'm going to let him tell you how he got into Aussies. And then we're going to talk specifically a little bit about his dog, Woody. And Woody was the 2019 Farm Bureau Dog of the Year, and I believe he was the first Farm Bureau Dog of the Year, correct? Was that when it started?
Yes. Uh-huh.
And since then there have been two other Aussies, so he started a really
great
tradition.
One though, wasn't it?
No, it was Beth Crandall's Lore Dog, Flint, and then Sonia Galley and her dog. Sonia Galley and her dog. Yep. So three dogs in a row for the Farm Bureau, three Aussies in a row for the Farm Bureau Dog of the Year. So let's go ahead and start talking about how you maybe got into Aussies and kind of lead up to where Woody came into your life.
Well, when I met my wife, Mary, she had a dog that she'd bought herself for graduation from high school. And it was supposed to be an English Shepherd. But I think it may have been one of those multi-sire litters. I don't know. But anyway, it didn't really look like an old English Shepherd. It kind of looked like an Aussie. And when we met, the dog was already pretty old and everything else. And we finally had to put the dog down. And a friend of ours actually gave her an Aussie pup. We didn't know what Aussies were. And that was the smartest dog I think I have ever seen in my life until we got Woody. And I don't know, that's been, about 43, 44 years ago, something like that.
And you've had Aussies ever since then, I assume?
Mm-hmm. We've had Aussies, at least one, in the house the whole time. But they're kind of like potato chips. You can only eat, you can't just eat one, you have to have a few of them.
That's right. And so when did you get into working like Aussies at work stock, herding Aussies or working bred Aussies?
Well, we had Hurricane Katrina came through Long Beach, Mississippi, where we were living. And it pretty much destroyed everything. And, it was a pretty bad storm. And so I like to had a lot of thinking to do and a lot of work to do with the business and everything else. And one of my ways to relax is just walking the dog. And so I had one that was a pretty nice little dog, but she was getting pretty old. Matter of fact, two of our Aussies that we had died right after Katrina. I mean, it was right after the storm that they died. And I had one left, and she was 14. So she really couldn't walk as far as I really needed her to. And so I began looking for another dog. And I ended up finding Rodger Stevens, and I ended up buying a dog from him. And then a friend of mine had an Aussie, and it was an Aussie pup. So we both had Aussie pups, and she said she was going to go to some lady over in Louisiana to train her dog for herding, and asked me if I wanted to go. She was one of our customers. And I said, yeah, sure. So I went up there with her, and I met Shelly Spotswood. And so Shelly kind of got me started into the, training the dogs for stock work. And then Rodger told me that if I was ever interested in that and I wanted to come, he would help me do some training as well. So I started going over to Rodger's quite a bit. And even though it was pretty far, I'd go over a couple, maybe 2 or 3 times a month, actually, to visit with him and work with the dogs and everything else. And that's kind of how I got into the, working with stock dogs.
Cool. And then, of course, you started trialing after that.
Yeah, I started doing a little trialing after that. And, all it takes is just, some encouragement. Like, I think we got a second place in sheep. That's all we were doing at the time. And at a trial in David Clayton's. And boy, that was enough to send me right over the edge there. So I started working with those dogs ever since. But when I had the dogs, the other Aussies that we had, they were really really smart dogs, and we did a lot of tricks with them and everything else, and taught them all kinds of tricks and stuff. And they were just a lot of fun. But Tommy that was the dog that I got from Rodger. Was just a completely different dog, pretty much the same as the first one, but not the same as the other ones, which were all stock dogs. They were working bred dogs.
Mm-hmm. But this one just stood out to you. What made him special?
Well, he's the only one that I ever tried really to work on stock with. The other ones, I put them on stock a couple of times, and they showed a lot of interest. And one of them had as much eye, I swear, as a border collie. Mm-hmm. But I never did work them much. Just too busy at work, and I never did take time to do anything. It's always at work.
I know. Work does that to us sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So Tommy, but there were some dogs between Tommy and Woody, right?
Yeah, we had Mercy, and that was the only one between Tommy and Woody. Mm-hmm. And Mercy was a nice dog, and I trialed her a little bit, and we witched her, and she got her ranch dog title as well. Mm-hmm. But and she made the 2011 finals in cattle.
Wow.
She's a pretty nice dog. But that 2011 finals was in Wisconsin, and the stock was okay, but the cattle were really pretty rough. Mm-hmm. And that was actually Woody's first trial. The first trial he went to was the Nationals in Wisconsin.
Wow.
And he ended up taking third place in cattle
nice.
in the starter division, first trial.
Nice. Well, that one was there are stories about that trial, that Nationals and that finals in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think there's only 2 people that actually made the course. I think one of them was Chris Caldwell, and I think the other one was George Mulheim. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I think they were the only ones that made the course in finals. Mercy did pretty well, actually. She made a couple of panels, but she was second up. So I think they didn't really realize how bad the cows were, but it was shortly after that they realized.
Yeah, that's a little stressful at finals to have rough cattle, but mm-hmm. So then you got Woody. Was mm-hmm. he one of your dog breedings, or did you get him from Rodger?
No, I got him from Rodger.
Mm-hmm.
Rodger gave me Woody. In fact, it's kind of a funny thing. I was at a trial at Rodgers, and he said, "Hey, would you mind on the way back home to drop this little dog off for me along the way?" I said, "No, sure, it's fine." So I actually got Woody from Rodger and delivered him to the new owner.
Mm.
And it was a little while later that the owner called up Rodger and said he didn't want the dog anymore. That the dog had bitten him, and that
Mm.
he didn't want the dog anymore. And so Rodger said, okay, he'd go pick him up. And it was a couple of weeks after that, a few weeks after, that he picked the dog up, and he brought him on over to me, came over to visit and stuff like that, and brought the dog to me. He says, "Do you want this dog?" And uh, Tommy had cancer, and he was dying.
Mm.
And I said, "Yeah, um, I would." And that's how I got him.
Mm.
And he was pretty reserved and everything else. I mean, he didn't much care about people too much.
Oh.
But I would take him with me. I was going back and forth from, we just moved, I'd sold the business and we just moved to Flatonia. And I was going back and forth trying to sell a house in Louisiana. And I would take the dog with me, and I didn't try to push him or anything. I just put him in the truck with me and let him ride with me. And after a while, a few times, he finally warmed up to me. and when he did, he really did bond hard. But and then I started doing a little training with him.
A little
But
training.
he's been he's been a pretty good dog now. He's a really good dog. I've
He
been
is a
having a
really
lot
good
of fun
dog.
with him.
I've seen that dog work, and he's just a fine dog. Just does amazing things, and I love that you post on your Facebook. You post all these videos of him doing some really really good work, gathering large pastures and working tough challenges, and you're just never afraid to put yourself out there and to show your dog working. And it's really neat to see that, because it's just such quality work and calm control and difficult tasks. And so I really appreciate that you put yourself out there and do that with those videos.
Well, I like to show, it's not the training. I mean, the dog does it pretty much on his own. He knows the job, and it would be just like me working with another human, except that he does a better job of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can talk to him. He knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And once he's seen the job, once he's done it once, he'll remember it from that point on.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you may see in some of the videos, well, he'll go gather a pasture and then bringing it through another pasture, and he'll kind of stop at a gate, and I'll ask him to, keep bringing the stock. Well, the reason why is because at one time or another, I asked him to put the stock through that other gate. So he'll bring him to that gate. Okay, maybe he wants to go through here. I don't know. But he'll wait for me to tell him, and then, but before that, he might be gathering a whole pasture and bring everything up to that point and say, here? No, bring them on. Okay.
Yeah. It's
So he'll do
amazing,
it.
isn't it? It is amazing to me how smart they are, and how they just get things, and they're ready to be your partner at anything. It is, like you said, it's like working with another human, except for, a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people have seen some of the things he's done, and they can't believe it. I remember you might have even been at this trial. It was here. And I think Ray Fryer, one time, we were sitting here at that one of those trials. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but I remember Ray saying, I told him, I said, well, I'm going to go send Woody to go bring Baby. It was our little bottle calf. And he was in with a bunch of sheep. And I told him he was going to bring Baby only. And Ray said, yeah, Joe says he's going to get Woody to bring that calf over here. And sure enough, he did. I think it kind of blew him away that the dog would go get Baby.
Yes. Well, mine
Now,
have.
of course,
have learned to be like, hey, I want the sheep only. Like if I have the sheep and the cows in the same pasture, I'll say,
Hmm.
give me the cows or give me the sheep, and they figure that out. They know which one.
They
So,
know.
hmm
They know. And some of the, some of the stuff like when we were working doing, say we're going to worm uh, some some sheep or whatever, and I'll send them into the pen, the holding pen, and to bring out a few so they can put them in confinement, so I can go ahead and look at them and worm them or whatever I need to do. And that dog knows how many sheep I want. He
hmm
has the idea, general idea about how many I want. And it's funny that I can send the dog into the pen and he'll bring everything up, but then cut off and gate sort by himself, like 6 or 8 or whatever I need.
hmm
And then I'll close the pen and everything's fine again. The sheep will go back to grazing or whatever they're doing. And I open the pen again. He's right back in there. I don't have to say anything to him. He just
hmm
goes in there and he'll get that many more and bring them back out. And I close the gate. And, he gate sorts them himself, which is pretty cool.
It's very cool. It's really neat. I love that thinking, those thinking dogs. And I always hope that my goal is for my training is that I always hope that I maintain that ability for them to think. And even if they're disobedient, sometimes I kind of stray on the side of letting them be disobedient rather than taking away their
Mm-hmm.
ability to think. Because, sometimes a thinking dog can, cause problems sometimes when they're doing what they think is what they're supposed to be doing. Or maybe not cause problems, but maybe not help you get to the goal occasionally if you want to do something totally different that they haven't done before.
Mm-hmm.
But I always want to keep
Mm-hmm.
that thinking ability because it's so amazing to me that a dog can
Well,
do
that's what
that.
separates them from any other breed, really.
I
And
agree with you 100%. hmm
and there's a lot of nice stock dogs out there, but I mean, as far as thinking on their own, I think that's where they excel.
I agree. I agree 100% on that. So let's talk a little bit about the Farm Bureau Award. Now, Woody won that award because you sent in his information because he did something outstanding. So why don't you tell that story? And I'll put the link to the videos in the show notes as well because there's a really nice video that Farm Bureau did on it as well.
Yeah. When Woody was, I guess he was almost 8 months old. He wasn't quite 8 months old, just almost. I think within a few days or a week or something of 8 months old. I was working with him on down and stay, and when I tell him down and stay, I really want him to down and stay because I've learned the lesson where I've had dogs push stock over the top of me when they didn't stay, and
hmm
you only had that happen once or twice, and I don't want that to happen again. So, I was trying to train him to, when I say downstay, by golly, I mean downstay. And he was doing pretty good. So, I had earlier that day had gone through I was going to the post office and I looked out and I saw uh, a calf, a heifer was the first time heifer. She was their first calf. And I saw her in the pasture, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to go check on that when I get back from the post office." So I took Woody with me, and I put him on a downstay out there close to me in the pasture, but I didn't want him to move. I couldn't find the calf anywhere, and I looked around and looked around, and I finally found the calf, and he was doing pretty good. He was staying right where I put him, and all that kind of stuff. That was great. Well, the calf was in a ditch. And I said, well, I better get that calf out of that ditch. And that's why I couldn't find the calf because, it was in the ditch. So I
hmm
go down in the ditch and pick up the calf and walk up to the top of the ditch and put the calf down. And here comes the mama cow.
Mm-mm.
Well, she came up there and I didn't think much of it. They know me and everything else. And I was thinking, and I never had a problem with them before.
Mm-hmm.
But this time, when I put the calf down and I just kind of tried to shoo the cow away, well, she attacked me. She hit me really, really hard and knocked me down. And as I was falling backwards, I'm thinking, "Oh my God, this is it," because that cow got on top of me, and I mean, she was trying to grind me into the ground.
Mm.
Well, about that time, here comes Woody, and he goes over there and gets in that cow's face, and I managed to get up and walk away. I was beat up pretty good, but she goes off chasing him, and then I called him back to me and made it on back to the house and went up to the hospital. But
Wow.
if it hadn't been for that little dog, I don't think I'd be here today.
Wow. That's amazing. And you had probably just gotten into your bonding with him, because you had said it had taken a while for him to bond with you. So that's pretty cool.
It was. It was shortly after we bonded is when that happened. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. It's just really amazing. It's so awesome that he did that.
Yeah, it was.
And you guys have done a lot of really neat stuff with him, and he's trialed as well, and you've done a lot of trialing with him, and you've done finals with Woody as well, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well.
Yeah, he has. He's a good dog. I don't know about you, but you sound a lot more passionate about the real work they do than the trialing work.
Yeah, I am. One time, I was watching him, and I just like to watch the animals, and I like to watch the dogs and everything. I like to watch them work. And I was sitting on the dam around our stock tank here, and I watched him one time. We had some newborn lambs, brand new. They were born in the pasture that afternoon or that morning sometime. But they were born in the pasture, and there was 3 ewes of 3 lambs. And I watched that dog go over there and work one ewe and lamb pair, and move them up a little bit until the little lamb got tired or something like that, and it'd lay down. And then I'd see him go to the next ewe lamb and bring that one up a little bit, and then go to the next ewe lamb and bring that one up a little bit, and then go back to the first one. And he did that all the way until he got, I guess it was probably 300 or 400 yards to the barn, but he worked those one at a time until he got every single one of them into the dadgum barn. It was amazing to watch that dog do that. And this is not without me saying a word. He just knows that they're supposed to go in the barn at this time of day, and
Yeah. And that's not stuff you can teach anyway. That's something that's just there.
I think the best video that I have, and it's not really as good as I'd like it, because but you can definitely see the dog doing this, was when I had a prolapsed ewe, and it was over in the barn area, and I noticed it when I was in the barn area. I went over to go check on the stock or something, and I saw the prolapsed ewe, and I said, "Okay, I'm gonna take her to the vet. This is the second time she's prolapsed, I think, and I was going to take her up to the vet to get it fixed." And I took her, the prolapsed ewe, and I think there was 4 others that I took. This just makes it a lot easier if you take a few of them. They seem to calm down a little bit. And all that kind
for
of
sure.
Stuff. So I took him. I took the ewe. Woody took the ewe and the others over to the pens, and I was going to put them in the pens and then put them in the alley and back the trailer up to the alley and bring the sheep into the trailer and take it to the vet. Well, it was kind of strange. I had the video going. I was going to show how you can send the dog underneath the trailer to go someplace, and then you can sort out of a trailer. Going to show how to sort out of a trailer in the video. Well, sure enough, because I figured I was going to have all the sheep in the trailer and then sort the ones I didn't want out. But Woody went, and he knew what I wanted to do. He knew I wanted that prolapsed ewe in the trailer. And so in the video, it shows that he made 2 attempts at it. And the first time he goes over there and he almost gets the prolapsed ewe in, but she at the last second turned away and went with the other ones. And, But the next time he did it, he put just the prolapse ewe into the trailer by herself.
Hmm.
I mean,
That's crazy.
and it's fun to watch him do it. On the video, it's really fun because he cuts that one out and pushes her into the trailer and leaves the other one to go the other direction. And that's something you can't train. He knew that prolapse ewe was the one I wanted in there, and he put it in there by himself.
Yeah, and for people who don't understand why we're amazed by this is that, sheep don't want to go by themselves anywhere.
No.
They will not go by themselves. They'll go wherever the group is, hence why you used several other ones to help get her up non-stressfully into the the area where you were
Mm-hmm.
going to load the trailer. And so it's
Yeah.
oftentimes hard to cut one off in that situation, because they're under pressure going into the trailer, and then under pressure in that situation because they know they're kind of being moved by the dog, so they're a little bit more wary. So that's actually that's really neat, and it's difficult for a dog to do that. I know I'm
Yeah.
trying to
And I
teach
wasn't
mine
even
how to.
there.
Yeah, and yeah, right, and that makes it even more challenging that you weren't there at the gate sorting, that the dog was doing it on its
Mm-mm.
own. I'm trying to teach that. I
Mm-hmm.
want this one, like when I'm worming or something like that. Right now, I don't have a fancy setup. I just kind of worm in the corner of a pen. I have the dog push him in the corner and pack the pen for me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of trying to teach him, hey, I want this one up here and I want this one up here. And we're working on that, but I'm not exactly sure you can teach that 100%. I think a dog just has to learn. And you know what? It's also a lot of stuff. You do a lot of work with your dog. You work your dog a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You train your dog. You use your dog on a regular basis daily doing chores and things like that. And I think that when people have that opportunity to work their dogs every day doing real life stuff, it really just it just enhances their training, enhances their brains, and it makes them just that much smarter because there's their job.
Well, like you can do stuff like, um, I don't know. You're trying to find a lamb. You're trying to catch a little lamb, and you need to get him or her for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have a whole flock there, and it's kind of hard to try to get that one lamb out of the flock. But you can point to one and say that one,
Mm-hmm.
and he will go and bring that one to you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and sometimes it's not pretty because the lambs,
Yeah.
they don't want to come, and
Mm-mm.
for me, it's hard for me to get down and catch the little devils, but
Mm-hmm.
but he'll bring it right to you, and it's amazing the way they'll do that one right there. Okay, and he'll stay with it wherever it goes in the group or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but he'll come back in a little bit, and it'll be right to you,
Well,
which
it's
is
really hard to move those little lambs. They run fast. They don't want to leave their mama's side, and they don't really understand at
no.
that young age what they're supposed to do. Like when they see a dog,
Mm-mm.
they don't understand. Oh, you're supposed to fetch or come to you. Your other sheep, when you fetch them enough, they know when the dog's behind them, they need to head towards you, the handler. But the babies aren't
Mm-hmm.
trained. They don't know that yet, and so they're just trying to get away from
They
whatever
are.
this irritating thing that is chasing them around.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them trickier to catch, for sure, for sure. That's just really neat. I mean, it's just really cool to have a dog like that, and I think that that's what, I don't know. When I first started, I didn't have stock of my own either, and I kind of went to training here and there and everywhere. And as soon as I got my own stock and my own place and started working my dog, doing chores every day and taking care of my own animals, it changed the relationship I had with my dogs. It changed the way I saw them, and the value for me changed as well because it's fun to trial. I love to trial. I'm competitive. I love sports and contests and things like that. So it's perfect for me, but I just adore working with them at home because the most amazing things happen when you're at home. When you're on your
Oh yeah.
ranch and nobody can see, there's no camera. Sometimes you catch it on camera because you're good that way. But, when there's no camera and those moments that just leave you kind of almost mystified, or you get goosebumps or in tears in your eyes, at least for me, sometimes I'm just like, oh my God,
Oh
this is
yeah.
so amazing.
I do too. I
It's
do.
just,
Well, like those three ewes with those day old lambs out, that brought tears to my eyes just
mhm,
seeing that. That's amazing to watch a dog do that, and with no commands, they just do it.
mhm,
Uh, I mean, and then, stuff like, uh, people don't understand how hard it is to work like a single calf, from in a pasture, and they're trying to get a calf, like try to wean a calf, and you're going to wean it off the mama, and you wean it off, and then you want to try to move that calf someplace else. And send a dog that doesn't run the calf into the fence or anything like that, that'll just go there and work that calf away from fences and stuff and work it to you. That's pretty amazing, because the calves, they're stupid, and they run just because mama's not there, and like I said, the same thing as sheep. But it's amazing to see that a dog can actually do that.
It is. And at my place, I have cattle on 3 sides of my place, neighbors' cattle, and then on all 3 sides on the other side, plus my cattle. And, my dogs have learned. The other thing that a lot of dogs aren't able to do, and I've seen a lot of it lately, is take only the cows that belong to them. Only the ones that are inside the fence. And if there's cows lined up on both sides of the fence, if there's a bull over there checking out my heifers, the dog has to leave that one alone and get the heifers off the fence, and just not go under the fence and hassle the other cows, or try to get all the cows in the whole county up to the house, just the ones that are in the fence, and things like that are hard too. And you don't really understand that until you're out there working dogs, just like what you're talking about, single animals and babies and stuff like that. They're just very difficult. Until you get out there and actually experience it, you don't really understand how epically difficult it is. Because there are times, and we'll just be straight, we have these amazing dogs, but there have been times, especially when they're younger, where it didn't go so well. We had to go down and help them.
Exactly.
And there weren't any tears, or maybe there were tears of frustration, but there weren't, there were times when they're young, they're dogs. They're dogs, and they make mistakes, and they don't always understand every time we do it. But most of the time, and you spend that time with them, and as they get to be that seasoned dog, then there's not much they can't handle. But we have to put the work in up front to help them out.
Yeah, you do.
For sure. And it doesn't feel like work, because most of the time, because, we enjoy it so much, but it is truly work to get them to that point, to develop them. So, because as much instinct as they have, they still have to have the understanding of how to handle it, whatever. So very cool.
Yeah.
So are you working any, because Woody's getting older, right? How old is Woody now?
Yeah, he's almost 11.
Okay.
I have a new one that's coming up, and I'm in that frustration stage with him right now. He has a lot of talent. He really is. He's a really smart little dog, and I don't think this is going to be a trial dog. He's just a little bit rough on sheep, a lot rougher than he really needs to be. But that's just him, and I guess I'm going to have to kind of live with that. But as far as turning out to be a pretty good farm dog, he's now starting to really show he's going to be a good farm dog. I had him out there this morning, and I was moving some cows that had gotten into the fence was down, and so they got in the wrong pasture, and I went out to send the dog out, and he was a little bit rough on the cows, but not too bad. And but he knew the job, and he knew where they were supposed to go. I left the gate open. He knew that's the gate they're supposed to go back through. So I took him out and had him go bring the cows up, and sure enough, he did a pretty nice job. We had one small problem, but
yeah,
we got it done.
Yeah. And that's the ultimate thing, we get it done. And you're the kind of guy, I know this because I've seen your videos, that you'll stand at the gate and go send your dog to gather a very large pasture, and they come bring the cows back to you. And I think a lot of farmers and ranchers have a hard time with that concept. They're used to getting on their horse, and a lot of people that I talk to when I'm helping them train their farm or ranch dog, they want to get on their horse, their four-wheeler, and go out and then push the cows and they want the dog in the back pushing the cows with them. And I think one of the cool things that one of the transformative things that I love seeing in their heads, I'm like, well, what if I just stand here and I send Copper out and gather the cows with the pasture, and I stand at this gate? And they're like, whoa, I never thought I could do that before. Because it's so much more efficient if we just stand at the gate and go let the dog do what its natural talent is to gather or fetch. So
yeah, and they'll do it. You just have to should work with them and then get the distance a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit further and a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, once they understand the job, they also know what time they're supposed to go out and go bring the stock up and everything else. And they'll go a couple pastures over, bring the stock back. And I
Mm-hmm.
like that rather than me going out there and having to do anything. Uh, really, I can send them from the barn. Well, I don't do it anymore, but I could actually send Woody from the barn 2 pastures over to go bring the stock up, which is a pretty good ways. And
Mm-hmm.
I would just be doing whatever I needed to do, but I couldn't video it from there.
Yeah.
So I have to when I do the videos, I'm going to have to go about halfway up so that I can actually get him on video doing that. But really and truly, I can just be at the barn and,
Yep.
he'll go do it. Okay. And he knows if I leave this gate open, that's where I want him to go.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as guarding the gates and stuff like that, same thing. Go in and out with the tractor. He'll stay right there.
Mm-hmm.
Watch, make sure nothing comes through.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most valuable things that these Aussies do is training the stock.
Mm-hmm.
They've got where the stock is pretty calm. They'll walk as long as they trust the dog, and the dog doesn't take cheap shots and stuff like that, and the dog covers when they run. It doesn't take them long to figure out. If they just go along with the flow, everything's going to be just fine.
Yes.
And that's why everything just moves so nice and slow and easy, and nothing gets riled up. But you have to have an experienced dog for that to train them like that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I agree 100% with that, because if your stock is well trained, everything is much, much easier to do, and then you'll have people that'll say, well, I don't really need a dog because I can move my stock with a bucket or whatever. I'm like, well, that's nice until you can't, until they don't want to come
Mm-hmm.
in with a bucket. Because I've had many situations where it's raining and the sheep lose their brains when it's raining. They can no longer remember they're supposed to walk forward and go into a barn, and you can't get them in with a bucket. You need a dog. you know
No, they don't want to cross running water, or,
Mhm.
any of that kind of stuff either.
They don't want to go in a pen because
Sometimes
they
they
know they're
just need
getting
a little persuasion.
vaccinated. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or wormed.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's when the dog comes in handy. And I think that point you made of the dogs training the stock is, I mean, that's just a really important concept, because that's one reason I kind of like the Aussies, the loose-eyed dog, because they can get close to their stock. They prefer to work close to their stock. And if you teach them right, and that's one thing I really liked about Rodger Stevens' methods, when he's training his dogs, they communicate with that stock and they could turn their pressure off, but they're close enough. The stock knows who they are. They trust them. It's not a wolf they don't think it's a coyote on the field. It's actually up close to them, and they have that better communication with the stock. That's kind of like my new
Mm-hmm.
theory about loose-eyed dogs, or at least Aussies for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I've had people say, well, you're showing those videos, but that stock is just, it's just gentle and everything else. Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. You know
And
how it got that way?
that's right. They
It
didn't.
didn't get that way just because they were born that way. And I just got all these really nice sheep and got all these really nice cows. No, they had to be trained. And if you see stock run away from the dogs and stuff like that, well, that dog isn't training the stock.
Oh, that is so important, because you see a lot of those rodeo type videos on the internet, and that doesn't impress me. I even tell them that, and they get kind of mad at me. I'm like, when your dog is trained, show me a video and that'll impress me. When the dog like if your stock, you can tell how well trained a dog is by working that stock. And how
Exactly.
talented the dog is by working the stock. So if I come in and work your stock, they're going to turn their heads, they're going to fetch, they're going to respond to the dog, they're going to be in the right place all the time. And I could have a dog that may be a little off, but the stock is going to respond properly because they've been handled by a well-trained, very instinctive, good dog. And I agree with you. If I see someone whose stock is being not controlled by a dog or uncontrolled by a dog, either they're just crazy, because that can happen. The stock can be crazy, or they weren't dog broke properly or dog trained properly, to respect a dog. I know when I go to somebody else's house and I can work their stock, how well that dog controls the stock. So it's to me, it's more impressive because you're on a ranch. You're not, sometimes people get in this whole trialing situation, and there's a difference between course trained stock and calm stock that'll go anywhere the dog tells him to go. I mean, if you're on a ranch and you're on a farm or you have your own stock, you don't want to deal with stock that's wild and dangerous. And having that calm, well-trained stock that respects the dog is safer for people in most cases as well. Typically, they're not the
Sure.
ones that are going to run you into a ditch, typically,
But
because because typically that's why you aren't worried about that cow that ran you over, because you didn't expect it, because they don't act that way normally. That's just not a normal response for a well-trained cow. So
hmm
I think that there's such a
yeah,
huge value in those comments about how well trained the stock are, and people that say that, oh, your stock are so well trained, that doesn't seem right. That's kind of, to me, that's kind of ignorant. It's just somebody who doesn't really understand. They haven't been doing this very long, and they don't really quite understand the value of the dog. Too many times we want to see that rodeo, and that rodeo is dangerous. It's just
it is.
dangerous for
It is.
everybody.
And if you've had stock, for a couple of years or whatever, and is still acting crazy, and well, you know, um,
Yeah, exactly. You either need to
I
get some
mean,
new genetics in your
I
cows
don't,
or new genetics in your dogs.
I don't, I have the same cows, and but year after year after year, and
Mhm.
I might add a few, but it's okay. They're with the same group, and they're trained by the same dog, and they all work really nice.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, they're my pet cows. Okay, well that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've heard people say. Yeah, those are pet cows.
Okay.
Yeah, no, actually, they live in the pasture, and I don't do a darn thing with them unless I actually have to, because I don't want to go out there. I don't want to make work.
Uh-huh.
There's enough to be done without having to make work just for the fun of it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I don't quite understand that whole concept that people don't like to they love those rodeos, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's a really strong dog if they can face a cow off." And yeah, it's impressive, but it's also dangerous. You know, it can hurt
well,
the dog, it can hurt the cows, it can hurt you whenever it's crazy out there. So
it is, and when the dog's training the stock, they need to basically, when the stock's doing the right thing, they need to stop.
mhm.
But if you have a dog that's going to be just, okay, this one bowed up on the dog, it really does need to be gripped. Okay, that's fine. But if the dog grips and just stays on it, or never comes off,
Mhm.
and never gives the stock a break for doing the right thing, that cow will never be, or sheep or whatever, is never going to be educated. I've
Mhm.
got the chickens trained right now. By golly, I send the dog out, and they'll go out and they see the dog come out, and next thing you know, they're kind of headed kind of towards the chicken coop, and
Uh-huh.
in a minute or two, they're in the coop. I mean, everything is trained. So
Well,
from chickens to cows to sheep, whatever. So it just doesn't take me much time to do the chores, and there's not much
uh-huh.
on my part. I'm just opening gates and closing doors.
Uh-huh. Well, and that's the thing. And that's the other thing about, these working dogs. Not a lot of dogs are working all day long. It doesn't happen very often. Maybe it'll happen, 1 or 2 days a year, or 1 or 2 days a month, or something where they do a lot of work. But
hmm
typically the chores, if you're an efficient human and not creating work just to do work, it really doesn't take much when you have a nice dog that'll just hold the gates and gather when you need them to, and put things away that they need to. And it's very simple and smooth. And I also want to say I think chickens are harder to train than cows and sheep. They don't like to herd, flock, group, whatever.
Well, that's what's fun about.
Uh-huh. It's fun, but it's
That's what's
challenging.
fun. But it is. But it I think it's more fun than ducks, actually.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of ducks.
uh, I like them. I like to. Woody loves to play with ducks.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. When we go out to do the ducks, it's playtime.
Mhm.
He loves to play with the ducks, and it's a lot of fun to go out there and and play with ducks with him.
Yeah, mine are, I'm raising 150 ducks for nationals this year, and
Mm-hmm.
my dogs have, it's kind of crazy because that many ducks, first of all, exert a lot of pressure on a dog. I realized I didn't, think about it, especially when you're trying to get them to go somewhere they don't want to go. So
Mm-hmm.
150 of them, they have a lot of presence. And then, my they have busted through almost every gate we have made for them, our fence, to keep them out of the chicken area. And they're always going up to eat the
Mm-hmm.
chicken's food. And my husband had a hose, and he was hosing the ducks to try and keep them away from the chicken food. And he said, oh, he felt like he was taking down a riot because they just come running at you. And they're going to come
Mm-hmm.
get you and run you over. So the dogs have learned to keep the ducks, in their respective pen, and
Mm-hmm.
they love that. They love that. They're like, "Oh, the ducks are out. We got to go put them back up."
Oh
So,
yeah, if it's a game to them, they really excel at all that kind of stuff. Oh, the chickens are supposed to go in, but they're only supposed to go in at this time of day. Okay.
hmm I know when it's time to do chores and I'm like busy doing something else. Every time I walk near the door, the dogs are at the door, like, "It's time. Let's go. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Time to do chores. Put
Yeah.
them up."
Or you're sitting there watching TV, and they come up there and stare at you. Okay, it's time to go. It's time to go, and I have four of them come stare at me.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to go out and do chores.
Time to do chores right now. So, do you
Mm-hmm.
ever work multiple dogs at the same time?
I do.
hmm
Uh, Not often, but I do. Uh, and it's kind of fun.
hmm
It is kind of fun to do a couple of them at a time. The problem I have right now, especially with my youngest one, he thinks it's his turn every time. And and I have them all laying down there. I'll send one of them off to go do one thing. I like to let them all do some work in a day.
hmm
And the youngest one, he thinks it's his turn every single time. And it's hard for him to let the other dogs work, but the rest of them are okay. They'll stay in place and let the one go work. But the youngest one is just like, if you give a command, he's going to go. I mean, he'll do the command that you ask him to do, but you're not asking him to do it.
Uh-huh. Mine is with my oldest one, Harley. She thinks that she needs to be doing all the work, and she's a little hard-headed. So when you have to fuss at her, the other dogs are like, get their feelings hurt. So she
Mm-hmm.
thinks she's gonna do it all, and she knows all the chores. And if you don't get the feed out in the right amount of time, she's gonna bring the sheep anyway. She's got her own agenda. But I really like working. I like working my boys together. Copper and Wyatt actually work really well together, and it's super fun to do stuff for them. I don't really necessarily need it, but it's kind of a fun challenge once you've gotten some training down. You're always looking for something new to train on and something new to grow with, and so I think that's kind of fun too. So
I like to do a lot of the practical training where they're going to be, not necessarily for trialing, but I'll put a freestanding pen out there only because I want the dog to work the stock into the pen themselves. And you have to train them how to do it, but it makes it so really nice because so much of your work is doing pens and things like that, and you teach the dog how to put the stock in the pen and how to take the stock out of the pen, and they'll fetch in and out of pens. You might be on 100 yards or more away, and they're in the stocks in the pen. You can ask the dog to go, bring the stock from the pens, and they'll do it. And that's always really important, I think, to teach them pen work. And it's not that hard to do, to teach them pen work. But I think it's one of those things that are useful in so many ways, not only just to do the pen work, but it slows the dog down and lets them think, okay, how am I going to get in the pen? Where do I need to go? And then the stock has to come out the pen so that when they go in, they know how to bring them out and, how to get out of the pens and everything else, especially when they're multiple pens and stuff. That kind of stuff, it's easy to teach, but it is so valuable. And I think that a lot of people that are doing trials would benefit a lot from it because it slows the dog down and lets them lets them think a little bit.
And I think with
Uh,
trialing, if you have a thinking dog, one that works on a regular basis, trialing is so like nitpicky, and the dogs don't necessarily like to be picked on that much and that perfect. If you teach them like pens, when I open a pen with Copper, I don't have to say anything. I open the pen and he knows
mhm.
that pen is where they're going. And he's learning some of the
That's
other
it.
obstacles. And teaching pens for Aussies is just like second nature. They catch on so quickly, and they start anticipating which pen you're going to open, and they start thinking and getting really excited about that pen work and alley work. They love that stuff. They love it.
They love it. They love it.
hmm
They love it.
I let them, even if I don't really need to have work done or whatever. I will just sometimes, if there's nothing to be done and the dog just needs a little bit of mental stimulation, I'll just let them work some pens, open some pens, and put
Hmm.
stuff in, take it out, and move it around, and they just love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, and I like to do it without saying a whole lot to them. I want
Mhm,
them to, if I say, I'll say very little to them, uh,
mhm,
because I want them to figure it out for themselves. And
mhm,
I think they learn a whole lot better if they figure it out for themselves rather than you having to repeat things over and over again, because they don't like that at all. They don't really like to do a lot of um, repetitive work.
mhm.
They get bored with it, and they kind of flip you off, or
They
but when
do.
they think it's when, when they figure it out for themselves and know, okay, this is what he wants, okay, and sometimes that's not exactly what you want, but okay, close enough. Let's go, work on something and see if we can't make that better. But
Well, and if you start
uh,
letting them think on their own and making decisions on their own, like, for pens, if you're working a freestanding pen, instead of like go by, down, way two, walk up, go by, get around, you let them figure out the job, and you open the gate and shut your mouth and let the dogs figure it out. It may not be pretty the first couple of times, but I'm telling you, when you get yourself into a pickle, whether it's trialing
hmm
or not trialing or on your farm or your ranch or whatever, and you get yourself distracted and there's something going on, and you get yourself into a bind, and you open that gate and that dog doesn't have to be told what to do, that could save the situation. Very easily
right.
save the situation. I was
Well,
recently
like you
trialing
say,
some.
when you
Go
open
ahead.
that pen and they know, okay, it goes in the pen.
Yeah.
You've already trained them that.
Yep. I was working some
But you
tough
were,
cows at a trial recently, and Cowper was the only one to pen him. He was the first one to pen him, and he was like second to the last, and dog running. And I just opened that pen. I don't remember saying any words at all. And those cows were rough, and he just slapped him in that pen without me having to say everything. Because first of all, my brain can't work that fast, and
hmm
secondly, they can't listen that fast. They have to be responsive on their own. And and that was a trialing situation. But at home, I've been in many situations where the dogs were able to think on their own, and they made the right decision when maybe I was telling them to do the wrong thing or giving the wrong command.
yeah, and they do the same with trailers too.
Mm-hmm.
Once they understand that the stock goes in the trailer, okay. Uh, it's the same thing as a pen. The door, the gates open, and uh,
Yeah.
they know that's where they're supposed to go, and they'll do it themselves. And if you tell them everything, like you say, you're going to be behind.
Mm-hmm.
But if they see it, they know the job. They see it. Okay, I know what I need to do to get that cow in there, and
Yeah.
they do it.
And oftentimes they have a different perspective from where they're at in the ground, and they can read the stock a little bit better than we can. They know if the stock, the cow or sheep is gonna bolt. They could tell sometimes, the real instinctive ones can really
Hmm.
tell that ahead of our commands. And then, like with the trailer, once they load the trailer the first time and it's very epically exciting, then they want to load the trailer with everything. Then everything goes in the
Hmm.
trailer, and it's
Yeah.
pretty easy.
Hmm.
Oh, there's a trailer. Let's put some
Yeah.
sheep in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah. Or
funny.
whatever. Cats or anything else.
Chickens. Yeah.
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 Oh,
And they
hey, I
sure.
swear the chickens are so much fun.
Yes, they are. I'm gonna have to start. My chickens are pretty well trained. They just go up at night on their own, but every now and then we have to put them in a pen or something. But
Mhm.
they're tricky. They're challenging. That's for sure. So.
Well, we're going to be getting some guineas here pretty soon,
Mm,
so that ought to be interesting. We've had so darn many snakes. Uh, um,
mm.
let's see. In the last 3 weeks, I think I've killed 11 copperheads,
Wow.
and they're all right around the back, back door. I mean, they're right
Ugh,
close to the house. So
yikes.
that's why I was going to get the guineas to see if I couldn't keep the snakes away.
Hmm. That would be nice. Those guineas are crazy.
Mm.
They're so funny. They like if you get a bunch of them, they're like a school of fish or something. When one turns, they all turn, and they run around like
Oh, really?
they're just funny. They're so funny. I don't have any, but Dana has some, and I'm always out there, and they crack me up. They're just hilarious.
Mm.
I got geese. I recently got geese, and I've never had geese before, and I really, really like those geese. They're smarter than ducks, and they're just really neat. They have personalities and stuff. It's
Mm.
pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So, well, I really appreciate you talking dogs with me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Yeah. Same here. Same here.
So, I want to go ahead in the show notes of this. I'll put up some links to some of your videos, and we'll put that Farm Bureau video in here so everybody can see the video of Woody. And then y'all will be able to see this beautiful dog that we're talking about because he's very pretty. Very beautiful dark blue merle, kind of the old style looking Aussie coloring to me.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
I think he's a pretty good old boy.
yeah, he is a good old boy. I'm actually having Rodger Stevens do a clinic up at my place in November of
Yes,
2021.
he
So
told me.
I'm really
Um,
excited about that. Really excited.
yeah,
He
he
was
he puts on a good clinic.
well, I have never been to one of his clinics, but I did go do some private lessons with him on the way back from a trial in Georgia in 2020. And he
Hmm.
really, I really like his philosophy, and I'll kind of, and we can kind of wrap up on this, but you know, I've always had in the back of my mind, I really like Aussies better than other breeds. It's my preference. I just prefer them. And
Hmm.
we sometimes in our trialing and working our Aussies try to push them out and make them work so far off stock that they sometimes lose contact or interest or whatever it is, and it's harder on them because they're a loose-eyed dog. They want to be close to their stock. And I really liked how Rodger, and I don't even know how he said it or if he even said it with words, but his actions basically and the way he trains basically is we're going to teach these dogs to work up close like they want to and make them the best Aussies they can be and not try to make them be like another breed, to work like another
Hmm.
breed way off, and things that aren't as natural to them, and allowing them to be and excel in their naturalness. I love that about his philosophy, and the things that he taught really helped my dogs a lot.
He does a lot of pressure work
Hmm.
with the dogs, um, and I think that's what the how the dog understands to turn the pressure on and off.
Hmm.
You know, Jerry Rowe told me one time. He said, the dogs can really dial in that radar, or they can make it. They can really have the stock really feel them, and then they can dial it down to the point where the stock really, uh, hardly notices that they're there. And they said a good
Hmm.
example of that is if you see elk in the wild, and if there's a pack of wolves, just they're not on the hunt, they're just traversing the area, and the elk see them, they don't pay them any mind at all because they're not being hunted.
Hmm.
But as soon as the wolves are on the hunt, well, the elk can feel that, and and I think that's the same thing that the Aussies, they can get right up on top of the stock. I mean, right there with them, and they don't excite them. The stock
Hmm.
doesn't run off or anything, but they're in control of them.
Hmm.
But then if they, I don't know, put their presence or whatever it is,
Hmm.
the radar or whatever, the bubble, they can make that bubble big or whatever. Then the stock gets more nervous. But they know how much pressure to put on the stock if they've been pressure trained, according to Rodger, and I believe it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's the same thing as, when you're feeding your stock, the dog brought the sheep in from the field or the cows or whatever. You put out the feed, and then they let them in. We let them in to eat. And then I walk around and check my stock like we all do when we have stock. We check them while they're eating because they're standing still relatively. And the dogs walk around in there too and don't bother anything. They can get their heads right in next to the sheep and put their heads right
Hmm.
in the feed bucket, and the sheep don't move. because they've turned that switch or that pressure or whatever it is off.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as I say go by or get back or whatever, the dog then can move the stock, and the stock knows when they're supposed to move then. It's just,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that's one of the most amazing things that you can do with that these dogs do. It's just amazing. So
Yeah, and it's so different than the drop and drift type stuff. You know, that's not in the same style, but that's why they need to be so far off. A lot of different dogs need to be a lot further off. They can't be up like the Aussies can.
right. And I think the sheep feel a little bit more stalked in those situations. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But the Aussies can learn to work up close and like you said, just be right on them and just have the right amount of pressure if they're trained. I mean, obviously, some dogs have it a lot naturally, but no dog's 100% natural that doesn't need training and guidance on how to get it done. But anyway.
Yeah.
But that's the fun part. The training these dogs is the fun part.
Absolutely.
And they're such good teachers too. They have taught me so much about livestock and handling and pressure and release. And that's the language that livestock and animals speak, is that pressure and release of pressure. So
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty neat. It's very neat.
Exactly.
Alrighty. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you again. I've missed seeing you at trials, so I hope to see you at some things down the road.
Well, hopefully we can have some play days around here sometime,
Ooh, that would be fun.
Invite folks over and just have some fun out here.
I would love that. I'm thinking about doing one too, sometime this spring. So
Yeah, that's
fall,
what I was thinking. Maybe this fall I'm gonna have a play day or something. But when I do, I'll invite you.
Oh, please do, because I really love those. I had one last year and people just loved it. They loved it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, Joe, I really appreciate you doing
we'll
this.
run chickens.
Hey, we could do that as a challenge, like a jackpot event. Chicken rodeo.
There you go.
Oh my God. Dana does that though.
Right,
she moves her chickens with the dogs, and I don't. I just never have, because they all just go up in their pens usually on their own. So it's funny. I really appreciate it, and thanks for coming on. Hey, and that's the show today. Thanks for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed it and got to learn something about this amazing breed, the Australian Shepherd. Join us on Facebook. We have a private group called the Instinctive Australian Shepherd. Join the group and join the conversation there. You can also find us online at theinstinctiveaussie.com. That's where you'll find all the show notes, the links to anything we talked about this show, and all of our past episodes. Subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever else you find your favorite podcasts, and that way you'll be the first ones to know as soon as an episode is uploaded. All right, everyone, I'll see you down the road.